Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Bethany Bilodeau, Dr.B, and I'm a sensory expert. I specialize in helping others regulate their nervous system so they can focus their efforts. In a lot of cases, this is for behavior regulation. One of the big questions I get asked to cover is the topic of mindfulness and its effects on the human body. I think this is a super important topic to cover. So to help me in breaking things down, I've reached out to my friend and renowned psychologist, Dr. Christopher Willard. Chris specializes in education and mindfulness techniques. He is in private practice and is a part-time professor at Harvard University. He's written multiple books on the subject of both understanding and applying mindfulness into your daily lives and was kind enough to join us for this lesson. So let's get started.
Let's start with addressing this big question. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the act of recognizing and directing your attention to the present moment. In other words, being more aware of what's actively happening. Now, this might sound easy, but this practice of mindfulness takes work because from an early age, we're all taught to behave, think, and act for our futures. Everything is in preparation of what's yet to come. It's so deeply rooted in our logic and our behavior that we often don't even think about the now. So mindfulness is about redirecting that energy to focus on the present.
Now that we understand what mindfulness is, let's talk about the benefits of practicing mindfulness. There have been decades of research that show those who start implementing mindfulness in their daily lives, on average, have reduced stress, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and the big one, improved sleep. I'm sure most of you can sympathize with one, if not all of these categories, and on some level. Is there an area you want to improve in your own life? Some great researchers like Deepak Chopra or Eckhart Tolle have shown that implementation of mindfulness techniques are major contributors to individuals who are highly effective in time management, organized leadership skills, and improved goal-based results, such as leading a project. The bottom line is, mindfulness is an effective and worthwhile practice. The problem is, it's not something that many people can do easily. Implementing mindfulness techniques takes a lot of patience, understanding, and practice. Many of us live in a world where technology and social connection is the focus of our day, which isn't always a negative. The key is moderation. We are constantly being bombarded with information. Our news feed, our emails, our text messages, the news, all of it. We spend so much of our time feeling like we need to catch up and stay afloat. No wonder stress and anxiety is higher now more than ever. But by just taking a few minutes out of your day to recognize what's happening around you, you may see an overall improvement in each of these categories.
Many people want to write off technology and social media altogether, and honestly, I get that. But that's just not the solution for 99% of people in our increasingly technologically dependent society. Just ask yourself this. What kind of world do you really think your kids will be living in 30, 40, 50 years from now? This rapid growth of technology, information, and community is only going to compound and multiply. And the very devices that kids are going to be limited on using, these are going to be almost their entire identity in the future. So all I'm saying is just keep an open mind as we start to get into these tips for mindfulness. You might want to limit these tools, but not remove them. So without further ado, let's dive into these top 10 tips for mindfulness.
Practice gratitude. What I mean by that is we all have things in our lives that we are so thankful for, whether that be family, friends, our hobbies, everything else in our lives that we work so hard to enjoy. When we remind ourselves of all this stuff, it generally brings all of this positivity to the forefront of our minds. It also helps us recognize what we're fighting for and helps us correct our actions if we start to deviate from our purpose. I'm sure you've all heard of the workaholic. If you're not one yourself, we at least know someone in our lives who fits this description. Well, if you ask most workaholics why they work so much, their answer is often something along the lines of, to better provide for my family. And trying to be there for their family, oftentimes they're not there physically. So it's about taking a pulse and recognizing where our efforts are actually going and reminding ourselves to live in the moment.
Tip number 2, check in with your body. All day, every day, you're constantly working with your eyes on the big picture. And all the while, your body is at work doing what it does best. Your heart's pumping blood to the rest of your organs, oxygen's getting sent to the brain, and your muscles are working to keep you moving. And all of this stuff is happening subconsciously. If you needed to actually focus on breathing and blinking and everything else that your body does, you'd never make any progress in your day. But I've got news for you. Your body's biggest obstacle is actually your own mind. Your mind is telling your body all kinds of lies about how much you can get done today and how important everything is. The brain is the biggest carrot and stick that's ever existed. It beats every deadline and naggy boss that you've ever had. It's also mostly responsible for all of your passion, your drive, and your success. Your body and your brain rely on each other to regulate one another. When you take a moment to pause and listen to your body, you'll start to know what really demands your attention. Your back will be aching from standing all day. Your eyes weak with tiredness, your stomach growling for a few minutes just to eat something. So don't forget to pause and listen to your body. Just because your mind might be speaking louder doesn't mean that it has to be in charge.
Pay attention to your heart. This kind of goes hand in hand with the last tip, but instead of the heart in your chest working hard to keep you alive, I'm talking about the heart in your soul, which fills you with passion and drive. This heart is where our emotions come from and is a constant driving force for our actions. Throughout the day, you may experience a range of emotions, from sadness to joy to frustration or even revelation. By checking in with where your heart is at, you can better relate to where your actions are at. My advice? Go with the flow and trust your instincts. Your body is the best indicator for whether you're up for the task at hand. A great resource for this is the HeartMath Institute, which has done decades of research on the power of the heart and how it affects not only our individual health, but also the well-being of others.
Tip number 4 is to fire up the senses. We talked about how one of the best ways to be mindful was to bring your attention into the present moment. Bethany will discuss the 8 senses throughout this course, but let's focus on the 5 for the moment. Sound, sight, smell, touch, and taste. This is the body's go-to tool for living in the moment. So stop what you're doing and just experience the world around you. Maybe you're in traffic on the way to work. Maybe you're just doing the dishes. Just close your eyes and reflect. Live in the moment. Feel that warm sensation rushing across your hands, the smell of the soap, the sound of the water as it patters across the plates and down the drain. Maybe it's the breath in your lungs as they inflate with air on the inhale, and the cool release as you let that breath back out again. Living in the moment can be easy. It just takes a few seconds and the right mindset.
We've definitely touched on this a bit, but it's such a critical part that it deserves its own bullet. Proper breath control is the bread and butter to staying regulated and in the moment. It's the first thing you focus on when starting to meditate, and it can single-handedly take you out of the game if neglected. There's a reason mothers who are giving birth are told to focus on their breath. There's a reason weightlifters force breaths between each rep. There is a reason we breathe before we test our fears. Try putting your hands on your lower rib cage so your index finger is on the lowest rib and your thumbs are on the back. Then breathe in through your nose. If you can't, no worries. Then breathe in through your mouth. Try to get your breath to move into your hands and then slowly breathe out of your mouth, making the exhalation longer than the inhalation. All of those breaths hone our focus and feed us the oxygen we need to keep pushing.
Tip number 6 is to practice the centering exercise. This is a simple but effective exercise that I like to show others how to do to help them find their baseline. And it's a way of stepping back and attuning your attention to what each part of your body is doing. Close your eyes, sit back in your seat with both feet planted flat on the ground, and just breathe. As each breath fills and empties your lungs, Just tweak each part of the body into a more comfortable position. Maybe starting with your head and gradually working your way down to your feet, going through each of the sections of your body. By the time you get to the end, you'll find you're calm, centered, relaxed, and ready to get started on the next task at hand. If you want a longer version of this to practice yourself or share with others, you can check it out in the resource section. I'll be guiding us through a version of this practice.
Tip number 7, journal your thoughts. The average person's brain is constantly cycling thoughts a mile a minute. We have an average of more than 2,000 thoughts a day, and most have nothing to do with what we are currently doing. 90% of those thoughts are in and out with no real retention. One of the best things I found to be helpful with organizing my thoughts is to just jot down any ideas I have. Even if I never look through those again, it just helps to get it out on paper. But you'd be surprised how often you actually do reflect on those ideas. So I recommend looking into using either a journal or a planner to help organize things. One of my favorite ones is the Full Focus Planner. This one is great because it gives you a spot to set yearly goals that you can use to break down into weekly goals and then into daily goals. This really helps me stay organized with my thoughts, but also keeps me accountable for the goals I set for myself. You can find the link to this planner along with all the other resources for this video in the description below, or by going to our kit page at kit.co/the Behavior Bootcamp.
Tip number 8 is to practice mindful eating. I don't know about you, but most of the time I'm not paying that much attention to how or what I'm eating, and that plays a big role in how we feel and how our bodies react. Now, Bethany's going to cover some great nutrition strategies in the full course, but we still want to make sure we're acknowledging it in our mindfulness habits. Studies have shown that when we prepare and cook our meals, we actually tend to make healthier food choices. We can spend some mindful moments preparing our food on the plates rather than just always ordering out, skipping that time where we really consider the benefits of all of the food that we eat. So slowing down, practicing mindfulness in both that food preparation and in the act of eating. Plus, eating slowly actually really helps us digest our food better to get more of those vitamins and minerals that we need and aid in our overall digestive health and in our mental health.
Tip number 9, practice active listening. We've covered this topic pretty in depth in the full course, but active listening plays a big part when it comes to being mindful. Most of the time when others are speaking, we're in our own heads thinking of how we're going to respond, especially in escalated conversations. When we do this, we actually end up tuning out a lot of what the other person is saying. A good solution for this is to give a slight pause before responding. And when you do respond, try to mirror part of what the other person has just said in your response. This not only forces you to actively listen, but it shows the person you're speaking with that you value what they have to say, enough to memorize and recite part of it. Very few conversations will end in an argument when both sides are respectfully listening to what the other has to say.
Tip number 10 is to observe your surroundings. Now, this is a great one to practice whenever you're outdoors. So step out, take a break from whatever hectic madness you've got going on in your day, and just spend a few minutes outside. Go for a walk and just observe your surroundings. No music, no audiobooks, and no racing thoughts. I like to pretend as if today were my last day on earth, and everything around me is worthy of my notice. The street sign or the shrub, that smudge on the glass or that crack in the sidewalk. All of them are unique and simple with their own beauty. Or as a child, I would just watch the clouds go by in the sky. See what kinds of different objects or animals or shapes they look like and watch them just change as they drifted past in the breeze. I like to notice the sounds of traffic or nature, or the people walking by consumed in their own conversations. Maybe it's just feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin or the chill of winter. I am in Boston after all. Just try and observe what's happening all around you.
That concludes our top 10 tips to mindfulness. I know some of these may seem a little obvious on the outside, but how many of these are you already actively implementing in your day-to-day lives? We all know that eating better and exercising will lead to a healthier lifestyle, But how many of us actually do that? My point is that we all have ways we can improve our minds and bodies alike. I hope these simple exercises help give you the perspective you need to start practicing mindfulness in your daily lives. I know there's sometimes not enough time in the day for the stuff we need to do, let alone the stuff we would like to do. So start small. Try to just spend 5 minutes of your day being mindful. Just 5 minutes can make a huge impact. Better yet, start right now. Set a timer if you need to, and just be mindful. I promise it will do wonders for your health. If you found this topic and our tips helpful, please let us know in the comments below. We read all of these and would love to hear your perspective, or maybe even some of your own strategies that you've tried. Again, all of the resources we discussed in this training can be found in the description down below, as well as links to our kit.co page where you can find everything we use in our training, from toys to books to sensory tools, games, and much more. We also designed a full course to help teach our methods in behavior regulation. This covers everything from how to build trust with your individual to proper sleep hygiene, coping with anxiety, nutrition, fitness, even the neurosensory that your body goes through when experiencing a crisis. All of these lessons are taught by myself and my team of amazing behaviorists and industry professionals, each with the purpose of helping you, the teacher, the parent, the professional, have better relationships with those individuals in your lives. Check out our free 1-hour webinar where we'll go over our top strategies for achieving better behavior and break down the importance of each of these sections in our full course. This is the equivalent of a free trial to our course, and if you find a lot of value in this, our course has even more. If you have any questions about the material covered in this lesson, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat below or reach out to us directly at support@coremethods.com. See you in the next video.
I hope you've enjoyed this segment on mindfulness. And if you have, I encourage you to check out more of my resources. You can find me on social media at Dr. Chris Willard, or my website, drchristopherwillard.com. You can also find my books, my workshops on my website or other places in bookstores, Amazon, wherever you shop for books. I've got, for example, for kids, I've got Alpha Breaths, the ABCs of mindful breathing, with all kinds of fun stuff for kids. From A is for the alligator breath. You can breathe in and breathe back out, or 25 other letters of the alphabet, and actually sequels as well. So please feel free to check those out and any of my other resources, and do stay in touch. Thanks so much.